Lena always felt like an outsider in her own home. She was loved by her parents, yes, but their love was mixed with a deep sorrow, one that she could feel every time they looked at her. Her mother, quiet and often lost in thought, would sometimes sigh deeply as she ran her fingers over Lena's dark hair. Her father, though always kind and warm, seemed to carry the weight of an invisible burden. It was the kind of burden that hung heavy, filling every room, and no matter how hard they tried to hide it, Lena knew it was there. The truth was simple, though painful. Lena's parents had always wanted children. After years of trying, they finally had her, but Lena was different. While most people could easily have children, her parents could not. They were both infertile. Their hopes had rested on the idea of having a child to carry on their family name, their history, their legacy. But when Lena came into the world, things didn't go as expected. For a long time, her parents tried to get pregnant again. They visited doctors, traveled to different planets, and even tried using advanced technology, but nothing worked. Their hopes were dashed again and again. Over time, the idea of having a big family started to fade away. Then, one day, when Lena was just 18, her parents sat her down. She knew something was wrong, but she didn't expect what they said next. They explained that they could no longer afford to keep her. The resources they had saved over the years were running low. They were in debt. And it was their fault for not having a son who could carry on their family's name. The final decision had been made. Lena would be sold. It was not like buying a car or a house. This was a deal that was difficult to understand, but in the world they lived in, it was common. Lena had been born into a world where infertility was a serious problem, and families like hers had to make painful decisions. Sometimes parents could not care for their children. It was heartbreaking, but it was reality. Some parents sold their children to alien worlds, where the children would have a better future and could be used for other purposes, sometimes as workers, sometimes as part of other cultural exchanges. Lena's parents had found a family on an alien world that needed a child. A price was set, and Lena was going to be sent to them, but Lena didn't understand. Why her? She wasn't even the one who had made the decision. Her parents had done it without consulting her, without asking how she felt. For the first time in her life, she felt completely alone, abandoned. She thought about all the things she would never get to do. She thought about her friends back home, the places she would never see again, family she loved, but who had now turned their back on her. All of it was slipping away. She didn't say anything. What could she say? She had been sold. Her parents were doing what they thought was best, but they were not her friends now. They were strangers making decisions she couldn't control. The reality of the situation hit her hard. A few days later, she was on a ship, leaving Earth, leaving everything behind. The ship was cold. It was dark, the stars shining brightly through the small windows, reminding her of the home she would never see again. She looked out at the stars and wondered about the alien world she was headed to. What would it be like? Would they treat her like a daughter? Would they be kind to her, or would she just be another item to be used and sold? She had no idea what to expect. All she knew was that she had no choice. This was her life now. But then, something strange happened. As the ship traveled farther from Earth, the systems on board began to buzz. The lights flickered, and the hum of the engines seemed to grow louder. Lena's heart raced. She had never been in space before, but she could tell something was wrong. The crew of the ship, who had been quiet up until now, started to move quickly. Something was happening. Lena watched as the captain, a tall, thin man with short gray hair, hurried down the hall, followed by several other officers. The entire ship seemed to be on alert. They were preparing for something, but no one told Lena what was going on. Her stomach tightened with fear. Minutes later, an announcement came over the loudspeaker. Attention, all passengers. We are about to encounter an unexpected visitor. Please stay calm. Lena's eyes widened. A visitor? She had no idea what this meant, but she couldn't shake the feeling that it had something to do with her. She stood up from her seat and moved closer to the window. Through the glass, she saw a massive ship, far bigger than the one she was traveling on. It was shaped like a star, shimmering with strange colors. The ship was unlike anything she had ever seen. Its design so alien, It made her feel small and insignificant. The voice over the intercom spoke again. "We are being boarded by King Alrith, ruler of the planet Jean. He is requested to speak with the human passenger, Lena." Lena froze. Her name echoed in her ears. She didn't understand. King Alrith. Why would the king of an alien planet want to speak to her? What was happening? The ship slowly docked with the larger alien vessel, and the crew scrambled to prepare for the meeting. They all looked nervous, and the tension was thick. Lena was led to a small room where she was asked to wait. Time seemed to stretch as she sat there alone, wondering what would happen next. She wasn't sure whether she should be terrified or relieved. Who was this King Alrith? What did he want with her? Minutes passed, and then the door opened. A tall figure entered the room. He was unlike anything Lena had ever seen. His skin was a deep shade of blue, his eyes glowed with a soft golden light, and his clothing shimmered with colors that seemed to shift as he moved. He had the bearing of someone important, someone who had seen and done much in his life. He stepped forward and smiled at Lena. "Hello, Lena," he said in a voice that was calm and kind, but also commanding. "I am King Alrith. I have come to offer you something." Lena stood up, unsure what to say. She had never met anyone like him before. His presence was overwhelming, yet comforting at the same time. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. King Alrith continued, "I have heard of your situation. I know you were sold by your parents, and I understand the pain it has caused you, but I do not see you as a commodity as others do. I see something more in you, something that I believe could help my people." Lena's mind was racing. Help his people. She had no idea what he was talking about. "I offer you a chance, Lena," King Alrith said, his voice softening. "I want you to come with me to my world, not as a servant, but as an equal. My people have lost something that you, as a human, possess. I have chosen you because I believe you can teach us what we have forgotten." Lena blinked, her heart pounding in her chest. She had no idea what he meant, but she felt something stirring within her, a feeling of hope. Something she hadn't felt in a long time. Could it be possible? Could she be more than just a pawn in someone else's game? The king smiled again. "I know this is a lot to take in, but I believe that your journey is just beginning. You have a role to play in this universe, and I intend to help you find it." Lena stood there, stunned and confused. She had been sold into a life she hadn't chosen, but now the world she had never dreamed of was opening up before her. For the first time, she wondered if perhaps she hadn't been thrown away after all. Maybe, just maybe, there was a reason she had been brought here. Lena couldn't believe what had just happened. One moment she was a pawn, sold by her parents to an unknown alien family. In the next, she was standing in front of a king, the ruler of a powerful alien world. She had been offered a chance to live among these strange beings, not as a servant, but as an equal. The words "you have a role to play in this universe" echoed in her mind. What did they mean? Could she really make a difference? Or was this just another game where she had no choice but to play along? King Alrith's ship was far different from the one she had traveled on. The inside was full of advanced technology, but it felt alive. The walls glowed softly, and there was a calmness that made Lena feel less afraid. The air was different, to lighter, fresher. It was as though every breath she took filled her with energy. The crew of King Alrith's ship was kind and respectful. They spoke to her not as a foreigner or a stranger, but as someone important. It was strange to be treated like this, after the way she had been sold and forgotten. The first few days were overwhelming. Lena was shown to her quarters, a room full of comforts she hadn't expected. There were no bars on the windows, no guards at the door, and no chains around her wrists. She was free. But what did that really mean? She had been brought here for a reason, but the more she thought about it, the more confused she became. What was she supposed to do in a world like this? Why had King Alrith chosen her? Lena spent her time exploring the ship, trying to make sense of her new life. The alien technology fascinated her. Machines that could communicate without speaking, walls that changed colors with the touch of a finger, and screens that showed images of distant planets and stars. She wasn't allowed to touch most of it, but she couldn't help but watch in awe. This was a world unlike anything she had ever known. Then one day she was called to meet with King Alreth again. He was standing in a grand room, surrounded by books and ancient-looking artifacts. He looked up when she entered, his glowing golden eyes soft with kindness. "Lena," he said, his voice as calm as always. "I want to show you something." He led her to a large screen that covered one whole wall of the room. The screen flickered to life, showing images of his planet. The colors were unlike anything Lena had ever seen. Green skies, purple oceans, and cities that stretched into the clouds. There were creatures that flew through the air, their wings shimmering in the light. It was a beautiful place. "This is Jean," King Alreth said. "It is my home and the home of my people. But there is something missing here, something important. I'm sure you've noticed that we are not like humans. We have technology, we have power, but we have lost something. Something that humans have in abundance." Lena watched him carefully. "What do you mean?" she asked. "What have you lost?" King Alreth hesitated before speaking. "We have lost the ability to feel, to connect, to care for one another beyond what logic dictates. We no longer experience emotions the way you do. Our world is efficient, but it is cold. My people have become like machines." Lena felt a knot form in her stomach. This was the reason she had been brought here? To fix an entire alien civilization? She didn't know how to do that. She was just a girl who had been sold by her parents. What did she know about making people feel? "I don't understand," she said quietly. "How can I help? I'm not special. I'm just ... me." King Alreth smiled, but it was a sad smile. "That's exactly why I chose you, Lena. Humans, despite all your challenges, have something that we lost long ago. You have the ability to feel deeply, to connect with others in ways we cannot. I need you to help us remember that." The weight of his words settled in her chest. Could it really be that simple? Could she really make a difference? She wasn't sure, but the look in King Alreth's eyes made her think that maybe, just maybe, there was hope for both of them. For the next few weeks, Lena spent her time learning about the alien civilization. She studied their history, their technology, and most of all, their people. She quickly realized that while their society was advanced, they were emotionally distant. There was no laughter, no joy in their voices. Conversations were logical and to the point. There was no room for kindness or compassion. People spoke to each other out of necessity, not out of care. Lena knew that she had to do something. If King Alreth truly believed she could help, then she had to try. But where would she start? How could she teach an entire civilization to feel again? One evening, as she sat alone in her room, an idea came to her. It wasn't much, but it was something. She would start small. She would teach them to laugh. The next day, she approached King Alreth with her idea. "I want to teach your people how to laugh," she said. "I know it sounds strange, but laughter is a human thing. It connects people in ways nothing else can. If I can show them how to laugh, maybe I can show them how to feel again." King Alreth listened intently, his expression thoughtful. "Laughter," he repeated, as if testing the word on his tongue. "I see, and how do you propose we begin?" Lena smiled, feeling more confident than she had in days. "We'll start with a simple game. It's called improv. It's a way for people to act without thinking, to be silly and free. It's all about having fun." For the next few weeks, Lena worked with King Alreth and his closest advisors. She taught them the basics of improv: how to make silly sounds, how to act without a script, how to let go of their fear of being judged. It wasn't easy. The aliens were hesitant at first, unsure of what to make of it all. But slowly, they began to let go. They started to laugh. And when they laughed, something inside them seemed to shift. For the first time, they weren't just talking, they were connecting. They were sharing an experience. They were feeling Lena could hardly believe what she was seeing. The people of Jean were changing before her eyes. They were starting to understand what it meant to be human, to care, to laugh. It wasn't much, but it was a start. But just when Lena thought things were going well, disaster struck. One of the cities on Jean was hit by a powerful storm, something the aliens had never experienced before. The storm destroyed entire buildings, flooding streets and causing chaos. The aliens, who were so accustomed to relying on logic and technology, were thrown into panic. They didn't know how to handle the situation. Their systems, their machines, couldn't fix this. In the middle of the chaos, Lena found herself standing in front of a group of John's leaders. They were all staring at her, waiting for her to say something. "We need to help them," Lena said. "We need to work together." And then, something incredible happened. The aliens didn't wait for instructions. They didn't wait for a machine to solve the problem. They began to work together using the skills they had learned from Lena. They began to show compassion for one another, lifting each other up, comforting one another, and finding solutions as a team. It was the first time Lena had seen them truly connect with each other. As the storm passed and the damage was repaired, Lena realized something. She had done it. She had helped them remember what it meant to care. The aliens had rediscovered their humanity not through technology, but through emotion. They had learned to laugh, to love, to help each other in ways that no machine could ever do. King Alrith came to Lena that night, his eyes filled with gratitude. "You have done what I never thought possible," he said. "You have shown my people what it means to be alive." Lena smiled, feeling a warmth inside her that she hadn't felt in a long time. She had found her place in this world, her true role. She wasn't just a girl who had been sold. She was someone who had the power to change the universe, and in that moment, Lena knew that her journey had only just begun. The days on Joan passed by quickly, and Lena began to feel more at home with each one. She had come to the alien world with nothing but uncertainty, but now she had found a purpose. She had helped the people of Joan rediscover something they had lost, something that made them truly alive. She had shown them how to laugh, how to connect with each other, and most importantly, how to care. They were no longer just a civilization built on logic and machines. They were learning to be human in a way they had never thought possible. Yet, despite all the progress, Lena couldn't shake the feeling that there was still more to be done. She had made a difference, yes, but it was only the beginning. The aliens had learned to laugh and work together, but could they truly understand the depth of human emotion? Could they grasp the complexities of love, pain, and sacrifice? Lena didn't know, but she was determined to find out. One evening, as Lena walked through the city of Joan, she was approached by King Alrith. He looked different. Now there was a warmth in his eyes, a softness in his voice that she hadn't seen before. He was no longer the distant, powerful ruler who had brought her here. He was a leader who had been changed by what he had learned, just like his people. "Lena," he said, his voice low, "I've been thinking about everything you've done for us. You have brought something to my people that we can never repay. You've shown us how to live, how to feel, how to be better. But there is one thing I need to ask of you." Lena turned to him, curiosity in her eyes. "What is it?" "I've seen how much you've grown here," King Alrith said. "I've seen how you've changed us, and I wonder what about your own world? What will happen to Earth? You were sold by your parents, abandoned by the people who should have cared for you. What will you do now?" Lena was silent for a moment, the question catching her off guard. What would she do? She had come to Jean thinking she would be nothing more than a tool in someone else's game. But now she had found something more. She had found purpose. But could she go back to Earth, where everything felt so small and distant? Could she return to the place that had abandoned her? Or had she truly found a new home here? "I don't know," she said slowly. "I never imagined I would be here, that I would be a part of something like this. But I also can't forget where I come from. I can't forget that there's a whole world out there that needs help too." King Alrith nodded, understanding in his eyes. "You are a leader, Lena. You have a gift that can change more than just this planet. If you choose to go back, I believe you can bring the same transformation to Earth. You could teach your people what it means to care, to connect, to laugh." Lena felt a surge of emotion inside her. King Alrith was right. She had the power to make a difference, not just on John, but back home on Earth as well. She had thought that her journey was over, that she had found her place among the aliens. But now she realized that her true role was just beginning. "I don't know if I can," Lena said, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "Earth is different. People there are caught up in their own problems, their own struggles. I don't know if they would listen, if they would understand what I've learned here. You don't need to change the world all at once, King Alrith said gently. Start small. Start with the people you know, the people who care about you. If they see the change in you, they will want to change too. Lena thought about it. Maybe King Alrith was right. Maybe she didn't have to change the whole world at once. She had started small on John, and look at how much progress had been made. Perhaps she could do the same on Earth. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. Lena spent her time preparing for the journey back to Earth, knowing that it was the right thing to do. She said her goodbyes to the people of Jean, who had become more like family than the strangers they once were. They'd learned so much from her, and she had learned just as much from them. On the day of her departure, King Alrith stood with her at the docking bay, his face solemn. Lena, he said, his voice low, you are not just a guest here. You are part of our world now. If you ever need us, if you ever need help, you have a place here. You will always be welcome. Lena smiled, her heart full. Thank you, Alrith. You've shown me more than I could ever repay. I'll never forget you, or what you've taught me. With a final hug, she boarded the ship that would take her back to Earth. As the ship lifted off and the city of Jean faded into the distance, Lena felt a sense of peace. She had come to this alien world with nothing but confusion and fear. But now she was leaving with something much more important purpose, hope, and the knowledge that she could make a difference. The journey back to Earth felt different this time. It wasn't the cold, empty journey she had made before, when she felt like a lost soul with nowhere to go. Now, it felt like a new beginning. She wasn't going back to a life of abandonment or uncertainty. She was going back with a mission, with a desire to share the lessons she had learned on John. When Lena arrived back on Earth, things were different. It was still the same world she had left, with its problems and struggles. But she didn't feel lost anymore. She felt like she had something important to offer. She started small, just like King Alrith had said. She talked to her friends, her family, anyone who would listen. She shared the lessons she had learned about laughter, connection, and compassion. Slowly, people began to listen. They began to see the change in her and wanted to know how they could change too. Lena didn't try to fix everything at once. She didn't try to change the whole world in a single day. But she made a difference. One person at a time, one small act of kindness at a time, she helped people reconnect. She taught them how to laugh again, how to care for one another, how to be more human. And slowly, Earth began to change. It wasn't easy, and it didn't happen overnight. But the seeds of change had been planted, and Lena knew that with time, those seeds would grow. Years later, Lena would look back on her journey with a sense of pride. She had started on a path she never expected, one that had taken her to an alien world where she had learned the power of connection and emotion. But the true legacy of her journey was not just the changes she had made on John, but the changes she had brought back to Earth. She had become a beacon of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest times, humanity had the power to heal, to connect, and to change the world. And in the end, Lena knew that she had found her true place, not in a world of machines and logic, but in a world where people could laugh, love, and live fully.